In July of 2016, Elon Musk had founded a company called Neuralink.
You want to have a device that you can basically put in your head and feel and look totally normal, but it solves some important problem in your brain or spine.
The company aims to create an interface between a brain and a computer, brain-machine interface, which would aid in coping or even alleviate with brain-related illnesses such as paralysis, blindness, and deafness, along with other myriad of disabilities that involve brain functioning. The company recruited few people who are experts in neuroscience, biochemistry, and robotics, and such personnel who excel in aforementioned streams of science would be vital to achieve the company's objective. Neuralink will plant a chip flush with the skull that connects to the brain through threads which are few microns width, much thinner than a strand of hair. These threads act like electrodes which bridges the gap between the chip and the brain. The chip can be operated for a day with its battery, but can be inductively charged, basically like you charge your phone wirelessly with a charging pad. The surgery to implant the chip will be done by a robot which is developed by Neuralink. Once the chip is online, it can be operated or communicate via an application on your smartphone as it is connected via Bluetooth. However, Neuralink was not the first to implement or integrate computers so as to build an interface between brain and computers. In 1963, Spanish-born Yale researcher José Delgado demonstrated a bull can be made to come to a halt when they become uncontrollable in the pit with the matador.
Con esta entrevista, su aportación.
Pues muchas gracias. Bueno, yo lo primero que diría es gracias a Francisco por invitarme aquí. Yo que me encuentro muy bien. Esta es casi como mi casa. Yo he sido profesor de la UNED hace ya muchos años. Así es que yo habría sabido venir aquí y estoy encantado de hablar de motivación, de emociones y sobre todo de hablar con el profesor Francisco, que para mí ha sido una cosa magnífica el venir aquí y estar con vosotros.
This is monkey Lili, operated on a few months ago. The electrode sockets are visible on the back of the head. The behavior of the animal seems to be quite normal.
Just like the Neuralink, this chip is connected to the brain via tiny wires that pass electricity and receive signals.
The long wire at the side is used to anchor the electrode to the skull. This needle electrode is used for the depth of the brain. This plate electrode is used for the surface
He
of the
called
brain.
this contraption as STIMO receiver or stimulus receiver.
With the micromanipulator, the needle electrode is inserted slowly to the predetermined depth. And the operation is over. In this case, 2 electrodes were implanted. The monkey is removed from the instrument and returned to its cage to recover from anesthesia and surgery. The implantation of electrodes does not seem to produce any deficit, and the animal looks quite normal.
One of his most ambitious experiments involved a monkey called Ludi. He made it turn his head right and left, circle around his herd, climbing a pole.
The well-known functions of the motor cortex are demonstrated in this monkey. Stimulation of right area 4 produces a turning to the left with extension of the left arm. Stimulation of a similar point in left area 4 produces a turning of the monkey to the right with extension of the right arm. After months of experimentation, some monkeys become tame and friendly. In monkey Alex, some facial aesthesia seems to be induced by electrical stimulation in the neighborhood of the red nucleus. We shall see the effect once more. The small light at the back of the stage indicates the cerebral stimulation. Stimulation is repeated again.
This was repeated 20,000 times without any failures. This method was transitioned to humans where he made a male patient clench his fist against his will. And the patient said, and I quote, "Well, doctor, your electricity is stronger than my will." He even induced aggression to a patient as one hurled a chair at the doctor. Contrarily, some patients experienced love, as they exhibited desire to have intimacy with the researcher. One of them was a 36-year-old woman and the other was an 11-year-old boy. This attracted the media's undivided attention. Delgado became famous in no time with a cover page front story in New York Times. However, some condemned it, like Elliot Wallenstein, professor at the University of Michigan. In 1980s, Delgado's ESB, electrical stimulation of brain, was targeted to be shut down as the technology would end in the wrong hands, which might pose a threat to the society. Delgado's ambition had fallen into a development hell as the funding got cut off despite the possible therapeutic effects it contributes. Fast forward few years and some scientists had planted cameras into rodents to track trapped victims under the rubble in a disaster. And a Chinese researcher has reached the limits of even planting a chip in a pigeon that allows you to control remotely. Soon after this news, Pentagon had funds injecting into creation of remote-controlled sharks so as to track enemy boats or ships without being detected. Will this ever brain and computer combo come to fruition? This is not a field like automobile engineering, where there are companies that invest billions of dollars for R&D, or even smartphone engineering for that matter, where it's a race against time to bring the newest bleeding tech to the table which is occupied by consumers. So this field of bioengineering is volatile, where if something can go wrong, will go really wrong. Recently, we're curious, or more importantly, computer engineers are curious to know, when will a computer or a program can go sentient or self-aware? They tend to ask this because for any computer to go self-aware, it has to have access to a gargantuan amount of information, which some computers do, unfortunately. However, this question was asked almost 60 years ago by J. Presper Eckert, the designer of the first general computer, ENIAC, where all the information this computer ever had access to was numbers to perform few basic calculations.
Will machines ever run man? This is a question that is equivalent to wondering whether we can ever make machines that will break the thought barrier. I don't really know, but I do know that if we are able to make a machine which is capable of emulating human thinking, is capable of self-reproduction, is capable of improving itself. Well, I hope that the man who does this has the presence of mind to kick the plug out of the socket before he runs.